This is Arkies in the Beltway, your look at national politics and the Arkansans influencing the discussions. I'm Alex Thomas, Washington correspondent for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, reporting from the nation's capital. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of July 20th, 2025. The U.S. Senate and House of Representatives approved a $9 billion rescission package, cutting the United States' support for international aid and public media. Congress passed the measure at the end of last week, rescinding federal dollars already appropriated for various purposes. The Trump administration requested the rescission package, arguing the bill addressed items, quote, antithetical to American interest and values. All six of Arkansas's federal lawmakers supported the rescission package. Senator John Bozeman of Rogers serves as a senior Senate appropriator. He says Congress usually reviews federal spending during the annual appropriations process, but the Trump administration wanted the matter handled separately from that.
When we do appropriations bills, we pass broad categories, and then the administration has the ability to take those categories and spend in a way that is pretty loose. The Biden administration abused that discretion and was just in a situation where they were spending on a lot of things that they shouldn't be.
The measure takes funds from international assistance, including programs within the State Department and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Senators removed language that would have cut $400 million from PEPFAR, which confronts the global HIV and AIDS epidemic. Representative Steve Womack of Rogers serves on the House Appropriations Committee, leading its subcommittee handling transportation and housing dollars. He tells the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette he's hesitant to support the rescission process, but the White House has the right to request such action.
There will be further attempts at pocket rescissions and other rescission packages that are going to become probably much more problematic because they're going to start getting into things that are important to too many people, including myself, that might be difficult to support, but we'll just see them as they come up.
Congressional Democrats in universal opposition to the package, pointing out their Republican colleagues just approved a sweeping and expensive tax and spending measure. The Congressional Budget Office projects the One Big Beautiful Bill will add $3 trillion to the deficit. A significant portion of the rescission package takes money away from public television and radio. Federal lawmakers agreed to claw back $1.1 billion for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which supports public media through grants. Republicans have argued the funding is meant for PBS and NPR, but PBS President and CEO Paula Kerger says the national organizations are not the main parties receiving these dollars.
Most of this money goes directly to stations, and which they use for their operations and their work at the community level.
Around 15% of Arkansas PBS's budget comes from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. In Arkansas's capital city, these grants make up 10% of Little Rock Public Radio's operating budget. Little Rock Public Radio General Manager Jonathan Seaborn says the decision from Capitol Hill won't have a major impact on the national brands.
What this would effectively do is break down the chain of local stations, and then over a course of years, you would see the hollowing out of local radio or television within the public media space across the country. 98% of the country or something like that has access to public radio. That would drastically be reduced. In a lot of the country, I think it's like 20-ish% of the country, those public radio stations are single source stations. So they're the only source of local news.
Arkansas's two other NPR affiliates face a similar problem. KUAF in Fayetteville receives 16% of its operating budget through these grants, and KASU in Jonesboro is preparing to lose 1/5 of its operating budget. Seaborn says local NPR affiliates can air more national programming, which can be cheaper to air compared to producing in-house content, but it would come at the expense of not covering local issues.
They could go watch, Fox or CNN or whatever for the national headlines, but they would lose city council coverage or school board coverage or whatever they may be relying on their local radio stations for.
Arkansas public media leaders telling the Democrat-Gazette they are exploring their options to fill this funding gap. Last week marked Crypto Week in Congress's lower chamber. The House approved 3 measures to establish regulations for digital assets such as cryptocurrencies. The Senate had already approved one of those bills, the Genius Act. President Donald Trump signed that legislation into law on Friday in a ceremony at the White House. During the event, the president gave a shout out to one of the leaders behind Crypto Week.
French Hill, where's French Hill? Where is French? You have been so great. Thank you, French. I spoke to him a little late. He was walking down the hall. I said, French. He said, I'm there, sir. You are great, great guy. Everyone respects you, French. You know that.
Representative French Hill has pushed for regulating cryptocurrencies during his time in Congress, including as chair of the House Financial Services Committee. The Little Rock congressman says legislation is necessary, as current guidance for commodities were put into place decades before digital assets were a thing.
The challenges facing the digital asset community over the years and the losses that have been experienced by consumers who have experimented in digital assets, or the frustration experienced by computer programmers and their venture capital partners, has been because we don't have clear rules of the road.
Hill was the lead sponsor of one measure, the Clarity Act, which states the regulatory responsibilities of government agencies when it comes to digital assets. Another bill prevents the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency. The Genius Act, which is now law, establishes regulations for stablecoins, cryptocurrencies with values pegged to stable assets like the US dollar. University of Arkansas law professor Carol Goforth says the Trump administration and the current Congress are taking an active approach in addressing digital assets, a stark difference from recent years.
The problem is, obviously, in 1946, we didn't even have the internet, much less anything like crypto assets. And it was a lot like trying to force a round peg into a square hole, and it just didn't fit.
In a Republican-controlled House where a handful of votes could result in a bill's failure, some Democrats supported the Clarity Act and the Genius Act. The House passed both measures with totals greater than the simple majority necessary for advancing legislation. These votes didn't come without some opposition. Some Democrats have pushed back against these efforts, citing the Trump family's ongoing interest in the cryptocurrency industry and its stake in the digital asset firm World Liberty Financial. Hill on his colleagues' concerns.
The people that might be concerned about President Trump's families investing in this area are better off today with these bills being passed than they are under the current lax regime.
Hill and Senator Boozman helped launch a bicameral working group in February focused on studying and drafting digital asset legislation. Some developments from the campaign trail. Hallie Schaffner has officially launched her bid for U.S. Senate, looking to challenge Tom Cotton in November 2026. Schaffner, a sixth-generation farmer from Jackson County, made the decision in the weeks after her family moved to close their 2,000-acre operation. Farmers across the country are continuing to struggle with high input costs and low commodity prices. Schaffner says she wants to take her story statewide and share how the federal government isn't working to help working people.
I already understand what it's like to work in a rigged economy. I understand what it's like to work hard and do everything right and still fall behind, not because we have failed, but because the system is failing us.
In Northwest Arkansas, Springdale pastor Rob Ryersey wants another chance at facing off against Representative Womack. Ryersey challenged Womack in the 2018 Republican primary in Arkansas's 3rd Congressional District. He lost that race. Ryersey has since left the Republican Party and found a new political home among Democrats.
I think that my own experience of having grown up as a Republican, feeling like that party left me at some point, going through a time of feeling politically homeless and having to find a new home, there's, I would guess, thousands of people in this district who have a very similar story.
Cotton and Arkansas's 4 House members have filed paperwork to run in next year's midterm elections. Senator Boozman's seat will not be on the ballot until 2028. And that'll do it for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of July 20th, 2025. You can stay up to date with all news involving Arkansas at arkansasonline.com. Special thanks, as always, to the team down in Little Rock. I'm Alex Thomas, and this has been Arkies in the Beltway. Thanks for listening.